If there is one day in my life that has defined me, it has to be back when I was a younger lad. I must give a bit of background, though. I started seeing things moving out of the corner of my eye. Now, seeing something slightly move out of my line of sight didn't really bother me that much. Even the noises while I was trying to sleep didn't throw me off that much. My neighbors are the weirdest people I have ever met. One edited his apartment to be able to practice javelin, and another one was a Peruvian flute player. I'm getting a bit off track now. So, after 3 days of these things moving out of the corner of my eye, I started to see things completely move out of my vision of sight. One time during work, I was standing in my cubicle talking to Fred in the next cubicle over. I looked up over at the hallway that led from the office to the downstairs. The wall was blocked by a view of the stairs. As I looked over, I saw a purple blur move from the side of the hall down the hallway out of view. My heart nearly stopped. I saw this a few more times, coming to the conclusion a weird guy in a purple suit was stalking me. The noises at night got louder and more terrifying. After a week or so of that, I started hearing a voice that night that was quiet and heavily mumbled. Using what was left of my sanity, I came to the conclusion that it was just my weird neighbors being weird. Until the second night of whispering, it said my name in a deep voice in a location that could not be found. It said, "Paul." It was faint that first night, but after that it got louder and louder. After the 5th night of whispering, I went into my friend's house, where some of my friends were going for a small party. My 5 nights of no sleep was obvious to my friends. They were worried about me. I assured them that it was just stress. I was trying to make myself not look as crazy as my friends already knew I was. After a bit of drinking on our extreme D&D match, which I kicked ass that night with them, I looked out the window. There, standing was this purple fuck who kept fucking with me. It wore a dark purple suit with tons of dots on the suit. Though their colors I couldn't figure out. But it wasn't his suit that caught my eye, it was his face. Or the lack of it. As I blinked, he was gone. I jumped off the couch. My friends were able to calm me down after a bit. I was able to fall asleep that night. There was no noise. Not a creak, scratch, or whisper. After waking up on my day off, I realized I needed to get some groceries. I walked down to the Walmart, and as soon as I got there, I was surprised to see that there weren't any people inside. The parking lot was full as usual, but inside there was no one. Though this should have sent off red flags for some reason, my brain came up with the conclusion, yes! No stupid people to deal with. As I went on about myself, grabbing everything on the list as my usual day of shopping goes, it wasn't until my last item that my body started to realize something was off. I started sweating and my heart was pumping really fast. In my haze of stupidity, I just passed it off as being hot. It wasn't until I was 1 aisle away from my last item that my brain started working. Wait, it's Saturday! This place should be packed! And it's the 2nd day of the month! I grabbed my last item, which was sauerkraut, as adrenaline started kicking in. I ran as fast as I could down the rows of food until I ran into something. I hit a brick wall. I went flying back into a nearby rack of toys. As I waved about, trying to defend myself, I grabbed a handle and started swinging the item that had fallen on me as a weapon. As I started knocking things away, I thought I had defeated the monster. But when I opened my eyes, there was nothing there. And I was holding a wiffle ball bat, and the monster I thought was attacking me was some toys that I knocked down out of the way in confusion. I stood up and looked at the exit. There was doors that led outside as normal, but I couldn't see anything outside. It was pitch black. My brain came to the quick conclusion that probably meant death. My feet figured out the same thing as I was running down the rows as fast as I could to the tools and hoped to find some sort of weapon. I heard the same voice as I heard during my deep sleep. Deep, low, terrifying, and this time echoing loud. It boomed across the whole store. Run as fast as you want, Paul. But you'll never escape. I started to hear footsteps from behind me, and I started feeling breath against my neck. I was only 1 or 2 rows away from the tool section. When I finally reached a row, I slid down to the middle of the row and grabbed the first thing that survival horror games had taught me as a weapon. A crowbar! I turned around and swung the crowbar as hard as I could, hitting my target hard. The hit made hands sting in pain. I dropped my weapon. I fell back to the ground as I looked up upon my nightmare fuel. It stood up at around 8 feet tall, in a purple suit. The purple suit was covered in different colored polka dots on his suit. His face was completely white from what I could see with his hat covering his face. His hand, with its purple glove, slowly moved up to his hat. As his hand hit the back of his purple hat with the band with the colors of the rainbow that held a single cartoonish red flower in the band, his hat tilted from being down so I could see his face. His face was completely white with no facial features. Except on his face, there was drawn rather large black eyes and a drawn mouth that showed no emotion. His long and slender body started to move. His drawn-on mouth and eyes started moving. He had pupils in his large black eyes. His mouth turned into a huge smile. He looked down at me, frozen in fear from the thing that was, well, Splendor. He then said in a rather high-pitched voice,
"Oh yeah."
He then cleared his voice while holding up one of his long, slender fingers. After he finished, he said in a louder voice,
"Hello, I'm the Splendor Man."
His voice echoed about the store. Then the Candyman song started playing, except Candyman was changed from Candyman to Splendor Man.
The Splendor Man can.
It went on for about 3 minutes until it finally stopped. He kept that same happy stare at me the whole time. After the song finished, I was trembling, covered in sweat and fear. I finally, after a minute, said, What is the Splendor Man? He chuckled, grabbed me by the hand, and pulled me up to my feet, looking at me with the same happy expression. Blackness slowly surrounded us. All I could see was his face. His voice dropped low. He said in almost a whisper, I'm your fears, your worst nightmares, and the darkest corners of the world. He then looked down at his hand. In his hand, he was holding a 4x4 card. He then muttered to himself, pause for dramatic effect. Swinging his arms up, knocking me to the floor, he yelled in a high-pitched voice. His voice echoed about the store. Again! The Splendor Man song started playing again. Suddenly, I got a rush of courage. I stood up and I yelled, Stop!
What, the music?
Yes, Splendor Man, the music.
Are you not finding this funny?
Not really. He suddenly had a sad face. Then he threw a taco at me, and it hit me. I stumbled back, and I said, What the fuck? Splendor Man was laughing his ass off. He then put his ass back on, and I whipped away the taco. I said, Why the hell did you do that?
Because it was random. And as any 7th grade girl will tell you, that is the height of comedy.
XD. He literally made that face. Not kidding. He finished his sentence with a twirl, and then started eating a flying pancake hat. Just because some teenage girls find it funny doesn't actually make it funny. He dropped his flying pancake hat thing out of his hands and mouth. Then his face turned into one of these fucking things. D commercial at. A sad face. He then slapped me. My weak and fragile body fell to the floor. He burst out laughing. I got up and brushed myself off. After a minute or so, he stopped laughing, looked down at me, and made a look of disapproval.
You don't like slapstick either? What is wrong with you?
Nothing, but that's besides the point. Where am I, and what's a Splendor Man?
Well, I'm the Splendor Man. I'm a sort of demon thing that does this bidding of the devil. Maybe you've heard about my more popular brother, Slender Man?
Oh yeah, that shitty game that no one would stop talking about for about a month, and then everyone forgot about it.
Finally, someone who agrees that Slender Man was a poo-poo game.
Why did you say poo? You know I don't care. But where am I?
Purgatory!
In confusion, I said, what Walmart is purgatory? That doesn't make much sense.
Oh, but poorly it does.
How?
Well, it's evil. Yeah, let's go with that.
What's so evil about it?
Gosh darn it, Paulie. Can't you just enjoy the randomness? Walmart is purgatory. That's comedy gold.
Oh, I could see some good witty humor in that, but there's no good writer who could exploit that.
Oh, Paulie, you must like breaking the fourth wall.
Oh, no, it's just observation. Then a loud, booming voice echoed.
Did someone mention breaking the fourth wall?
I fell back to the ground, starting to find it quite comfortable and easier to cower on. I then yelled in fear, Who is that?
You're dumb. That's the writer of this fair story. You ask too many questions and stutter too much.
The writer then followed up with,
Yes, I wrote him after all my fears of gay Slender Man and my social anxieties.
Splendor Man replied.
I am not gay, you donkey turd.
As the Splendor Man fought with the author, I spaced out in his own little world. I thought about the situation. Why? Why was I here? Did I do something to upset God? Maybe not believing in him, but that wouldn't upset him enough to stick me with an annoying gay Slender Man, would he? I was awoken from my mind nap when the Splendor Man picked me up by the throat. He mumbled.
Let's get this over with.
I choked out. What?
Like I said, Paulie, you asked too many questions.
Now in a sadder voice. Splendor Man carried me all the way out to the exit and then dropped me on the comfortable floor.
Paulie, you are dreader than a metaphor that the author is too lazy to make.
I completely shocked and shuddered. No.
Sorry, Paul, but you got hit by a bus on your way to Walmart. Ha! You become a statistic.
But I can't be dead.
Yes, you can, you idiot. Apparently you were so low on the totem pole that I had to do the job instead of either of my brothers.
He then motioned for me to have some of his flying pancake cat. But
I can't do a thing, Paulie.
Splendor Man then slapped me.
I can't, Paul.
The booming voice returned.
I just realized we can't kill him off.
What?
Well, he's telling the story. It wouldn't make any sense.
But this barely resolves it either.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with the plot, so you guys swing it for a bit while I think this through.
I was very happy at this. The fact that I was gonna live. I was smiling ear to ear. Splendor Man then exploded.
Fuck! Must not swear. Must be kind and lovable. I just want to be random and loved. But no, my story get hijacked by some donkey turd of an author.
Okay, I figured it out.
What?
Paul will be your proxy.
Splendor Man stood there, mouth open and shocked. The author then started again.
Well, it makes sense, since this is pretty much a self-insert fanfic. It just makes sense.
But...
The Splendor Man replied angrily.
Do you want to be loved by random 7th grade girls?
Fine.
The Splendor Man said in a sad voice. I get to live?
Yeah, Paul, you get to live.
I was pretty damn happy. Splendor Man gave me a face like this. A commercial at and a slash. Like a half smile you sent through text. Once again, it was like this. I'm not being lazy. Splendor Man then snapped his fingers and we were on a rooftop overlooking the city. Well, I get to learn how to do that?
What? No, this is for the people who like random.
Oh, so that's how the British won World War II.
What?
Never mind. So what's the first job? Splendor Man pulled out a laptop out of his pocket. He opened to a website called Crappy Pasta. He then said,
We have to protect this amazingly funny and smart pasta called Bready Flute Loops of Death from all these haters, especially this Dirty Birdie T Tiger 10.
Wait, did you just make an obscure reference?
Yeah, of course. Obscure references are hilarious. Not as much as a slapstick or random, but, you know, still pretty good.
I was about to disagree when he slapped me and then burst into a long laugh. I got back up and he laughed for 20 good minutes. When he stopped, I said to him, obscure references aren't that funny because if people don't get them, they feel left out.
You need to shut up! You donkey poo! Random and slapstick and obscure references are the height of humor. You are just being a loser, hipster, hater who has no life.
This is gonna be a long eternity.
Same here, Paulie. Same here.